Good day, fellow problem solvers. Welcome back. So today we're talking about reading and writing. Yes, not in a language sense, but wait, mathematics is a language, right? So reading and writing decimal fractions. Stay tuned, share, like, and subscribe. Let's look at decimal fractions. Today we are looking specifically at reading and writing decimal fractions. Remember, we have worked with fractions before, but these were common fractions that look like this and this, but we'll touch on those again. First of all, what is a decimal fraction? A decimal fraction is a fraction that can be expressed as a number that lies between 0 and 1. Very important. So that's what we are going to look at now. So let's look at this decimal fraction right here at number 1, 0.1. This can be expressed as 1 over 10. And you can test this with your calculators if you want to. 1 divided by 10 is equal to 0.1. So, just to help you understand, if you've got a 1 and you are dividing by a 10, then imagine there is a comma right there. So it will look like this. With a 0, that's still 1. 1 comma 0 is still 1. Now the moment you divide with a 10, and you see there's 1 0 right over there, you see it, then this comma moves one place to the left, and that will give us 0.1. Okay, so remember that. Let's look at this one. If we want to express this decimal fraction as a normal common fraction, then this comma, which is between 0 and 2, will have to move 2 spaces. So it is the same as 21 divided by 100. You can quickly test that with a calculator as well. And again, if this was a 21 and the comma was there, it can move 2 spaces. And then it's 0.21, so that will help you to understand how this works, and that will be equal to 0.21. Now let's look at 0.321, and yes, you've probably already picked up on the pattern. How many spaces does this comma need to move, indicating the decimal places? 1, 2, 3. Therefore, it has to be divided by 1,000. So this is 321 divided by 1,000. So with the first example, it had to move once, therefore divided by 10. If it has to move twice, divide by 100. If it has to move 3 times, then divided by 1,000. You see the 1 0, 2 zeros, and 3 zeros. Okay, so hopefully that will help you with understanding number 4, because we want to expand number 4 and write it only as numbers and common fractions. It will look something like this. 12 plus 3 over 10, giving us the 0.3. Okay, so we've got that one. We've got the 12. Plus, remember now it's a 0.04, so that is a 4 divided by 100, because the comma needs to move 2 places. For the 5, it needs to move 3 places, so that would be plus 5 over 1,000. And then the 6 will have to move 4 spaces, so it's over 10,000. And the 7 over 100,000, because it has to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. So this number right over here, this number, the sum of these fractions, is equal to 12.34567. So this just helps you to get understanding of how it works. Okay, now if we've got 1 over 4 and we want to do the opposite, we want to go from a common fraction to a decimal fraction, the only thing we need to do is we need to ask ourselves, with which number can we multiply that will take 4 either to 10 or to 100 or to 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000. Okay, You pick the smallest one because that will help you to stick to a simple, more simple solution. Okay. So a quarter, you will all agree that 4 can be multiplied with 25. And that will give us 100. But we can't just multiply with 25 at the denominator. We have to multiply with 25 over 25. In other words, that we do not change the value of what we have here, right? So we can't change the value. We have to have it the same. So it's a quarter times 25 over 25, which will give us 25 over 100. Let's look at the one at the bottom. Another way of doing the one at the bottom, number 6, would have been to divide, but remember 25 can't be divided by 2, right? So we're going to have to go towards 1,000. So 200 times what will give us 1,000? It is times 5. But again, we can't multiply the denominator without multiplying the numerator in order to have the value the same, because we can times with 1 and still have the same value. So this will then be 25 times 5, which is 125 over 1,000. Okay. Now we're not done yet. So once we get 25 over 100, we know the comma needs to move 2 spaces. So that is 0,25. Over here is divided by 1,000. So we know this will be 0,125. Hopefully you enjoyed the intro to decimal fractions.